Many thanks for joining me again. Is the world flat? Is there a dome over Earth? Leading flat earthers believe the planet is actually a disk with the Arctic Circle in the middle. They claim Antarctica is actually a 150-foot high ice wall which has been put in place to stop us all falling off the edge. Basically, the Earth is a flat disk protected by an invisible barrier called the firmament, a dome-like feature that also happens to be referenced in the Old Testament, so you know it's real. Copernicus, of course, spoiled everything up by introducing his theory of heliocentrism. Flat earthers acknowledge that while Copernicus's math was right, he lacked the technology necessary to definitively prove his theory. Still, the idea took hold, governments started preaching it, and a centuries-long lie was born. However, most illiterates do not believe these claims. Scientists, stargazers, and most other people agree the world is, in fact, spherical. The villains in this tale are, of course, NASA and the US government as a whole. NASA has been going to incredible lengths to fool the world about not only the moon landing, an obvious forgery, but about everything we thought we knew about our very planet itself. GPS readings. Faked. Photos and videos from space. Faked. Lunar eclipses. An invisible anti-moon that occasionally obscures our also flat moon. So, to keep their incredible secret, NASA began faking all sorts of photo and video evidence, space launches, moon landings, shuttle journeys, you name it. Its physicists and astronauts were sworn to secrecy, but why would NASA do so much work to keep the truth hidden from the masses? Money, of course. It's a hell of a lot cheaper to keep a global charade going than it is to actually do all of the impossible projects that NASA claims to be working on. That money, in turn, gets funneled back to the government. Universal acceleration, UA, and not gravity. Gravity is something that might also have thrown a wrench in the flat earthers' personal truth if it weren't for something called universal acceleration, that is. You see, the world is constantly accelerating upwards, forcing everything else down. According to flat earth theory, gravity does not exist. Instead, there is a force that produces identical effects as observed from the surface of the Earth. This force is known as universal acceleration, abbreviated as UA. Objects on the Earth's surface have weight because all sufficiently massive celestial bodies are accelerating upward at the rate of 9.8 m/s². The mass of the Earth is thought to shield the objects atop it from the direct force of UA. Alternatively, it is possible that the force of UA can actually pass through objects, but its effect on smaller bodies is negligible, similar to gravity in RET cosmology, which only has a noticeable effect on very large objects. Among the many theories of conspiracy, sometimes there are those that contradict common sense too clearly. Among such is the theory that our Earth is not really spherical. If it's really accurate, the shape of the Earth is a geoid, but flat. Serious claims from time to time, conspiracy theorists demand that the scientific community pay attention to themselves and take offense that their irrefutable evidence is not taken seriously. How can we ignore so explicit evidence of the Earth's plane, as an attempt to measure the curvature of its surface with a level? Below are the main evidence, and their refutation, of the theory of the Earth's plane, which are most often used by its ardent adherents. Sense organs. The community of flat Earth theorists maintains that Earth plane evidence can be obtained from various aspects of science and philosophy. The simplest and most irrefutable way is to rely on the senses to understand the nature of the reality that surrounds us. The adherents of this theory of conspiracy rely solely on the empirical method of obtaining information, that is, they believe only in what they see with their own eyes, hear with their own ears, touch, smell, and so on. The empirical approach seems quite a reasonable choice, if we exclude the fact that the sense organs of a person are extremely unreliable, and the people themselves are very easily succumb to someone else's influence. Science at the time of its formation came to the conclusion that it is impossible to use the empirical method for scientific purposes, without understanding its limitations. If we only believed in what we can see, hear, and feel, we would have to abandon the wireless internet, which relies on invisible radio waves? What can we say about electromagnetic fields, viruses, and microbes? But I do not see distortion. Another popular argument that only proves the limitation of the human senses and the limitation of the intellect of some representatives of our species. Flat Earth looks like this, because we are tiny creatures on the surface of a planet whose dimensions are huge. However, if you want to see for yourself that the Earth is not flat, just go up the hill or to the top of the skyscraper, or even better, take a ride in a hot air balloon, and you will personally see how the horizon is expanding. The bases of the clouds are flat. Sometimes it's hard to believe what ideas come to people who are trying to justify their strange ideas. One of the main proofs of the fact that the Earth is flat is the flat bases of cumulus clouds. To disprove this, one can use the favorite method of theoreticians, empirical. Yes, some clouds have really flat bases. But others do not. And this does not depend on the curvature of the Earth. The flat base of cumulus clouds is associated with changes in the level of pressure and temperature in the atmosphere. Water vapor can condense only below a certain temperature and can rise upwards by thousands of meters, especially on warm days. When this happens, the air expands and pressure drops occur. Movement of the Sun. Science can easily prove that the Earth rotates and that other planets cannot rotate around it. But, apparently, all the mathematical and even empirical evidence of the movement of planets in orbit around the Sun is not good enough for the adherents of the theory of flat Earth. They see with their own eyes how the Sun moves across the sky. Until the Earth does not move under their feet, it means that our planet is not moving, but the Sun. They imagine what will happen to the devotees of an exclusively empirical method of obtaining data when they are at the train window at a time when a neighboring train on the parallel tracks starts moving in the opposite direction. Bedford experiment. In 1838, the president of the Flat Earth Society conducted an experiment in the Bedford Valley in England. He installed a flag at the end of the valley and claimed that with the help of a telescope he could see this flag at a distance of 10 kilometers, which would have been impossible, if the Earth had a spherical shape. It is even difficult to begin to refute this fact. Adherents of the theory of planar Earth refuse to believe the evidence provided by space agencies, satellite photos, astronaut statements, equations of physicists and mathematicians, astronomers' explanations, but they relish with pleasure only one experiment described by a long-dead Englishman who was known to be on their side. If these theorists so love the empirical method, then it would be worthwhile to include common sense for them in the sense organs. From all the evidences provided and the corresponding rebuttals, one can clearly assert that the Earth is flat. Thanks for watching.